Hey, welcome to Everyday Economics, the podcast that helps you learn about the economic world happening around you every day. I'm your host, Chris Krug, publisher of the Center Square. Everyday Economics is brought to you by the Center Square. To support Everyday Economics, please make a tax-deductible charitable contribution by clicking the link in the show description. We're recording this episode on Friday, February 7th. And joining me, as always, my friend and colleague and my co-host, Dr. Orphe Divounguy, PhD, economist. Dr. O, the jobs report came out this morning. Again, we're taping this on Friday, February 7th. I believe that this will be released out to the world today. So it'll be timely and topical. The jobs report indicates, in January that we added 143,000 jobs. And, that's an interesting number. So that would indicate something of a slowing, down from a month before. Unemployment rate went down also to 4% flat. So let me just let you kind of jump in and talk about, what your interpretation of this is. This is new news. I mean, this is literally, information that's been released within the past hour as we're taping this. So why don't you give us your initial gut shot here?
Absolutely. I mean, you had a massive adjustment in the household survey. You had a massive adjustment in the employment survey, right? We talk about these seasonal factor adjustments every year. When you look at the revisions for 2024, they were mostly revised down, right? So fewer jobs were added in 2024 than previously reported. But you saw a pickup in November and December, right? So big that those numbers were actually revised up by 49,000 in November, up by 51,000 in December. And then the total non-farm payroll employment actually rose by 143,000 jobs, not too far off from the average monthly gain of 166,000 in 2024. So what I see is a still strong with slowing at an orderly pace. I think the expected pace. You do have, though, signs that the labor market might actually remain somewhat tight, with average hourly earnings up 0.5% in January. Of course, on a year-over-year basis, by the way, that's unchanged at 4.1%. But of course, you had a big decline in weekly hours worked, in hours worked for the month of January, which of course is going to depress the denominator and cause the average to appear stronger than it is. So again, what does that tell me when I look at the whole picture? Because you really can't make sense of this by looking at individual data points. When I look at the whole picture, I have a labor market that is strong, still strong. I have a strong but cooling in the months ahead, likely to cool in the months ahead. If you think about some of the numbers I really care about, like construction sector employment, healthcare, leisure, and hospitality had been kind of the strongholds, right?
Yes, right.
In the labor market.
And I saw leisure and hospitality are down 3,000
exactly
in the January report. Can I get into the categories with you right now?
Yeah,
give you something to chew on. Well, when I look at this, and of course, I'm always trying to just consider this through a taxpayer's lens, right? It's like if we're growing jobs or creating work, that's great. Who's paying for it? The government accounted for 32,000 of the total jobs. And then if you go up to the top line, the biggest area of growth would be education and health, which grew 61,000 jobs. So, between government, education, and health, you're talking about 93,000 of the 140 some thousand odd jobs that were added. It's is that a healthy sign? Is that a good thing?
I don't like your question, Chris.
I know you don't. I know you don't.
You know why I don't like your question? It's very loaded. You're so
No,
good at this. You're so good at this.
I don't know that that's a loaded question. I mean, I just look, because when I look at the other categories,
what do you want me to say, Chris?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I want you to say. I mean,
I'll tell you what. The gains are concentrated for sure.
Okay,
they've been that way for a long time.
Yes, they have been.
Right, but really the fact that if you have some cuts coming on the government sector side, if you have a slowdown or softening in leisure and hospitality, healthcare, and construction, right? Remember, with housing starts declining in 2024, you're likely going to see construction sector employment may have peaked already.
It may have. It may have. 4,000 was the ad in construction. So it's not a negative number.
No, it's not. It's not.
Manufacturing was up 3,000 jobs. That's also not a negative number.
That's right.
Business services, which I guess we can talk about that. Like, what does that really mean if we decode the language of the Department of Labor? What does that really mean? I think my understanding of that is that's mostly white collar jobs, right? Business services.
Well, yeah. You're right. Professional
down 11,000. Down 11,000.
Look, there are signs that the labor market is turning a corner. It's cool. Things are cooling, but remain strong, but are cooling. And if you consider these individual categories, sectors, you can really see things are softening. And so I there are a lot of people that say, well, we're going to see a rebound in 2025.
Mm-hmm.
It's been strong, but I think the higher for longer interest rate environment is likely going to continue to pull down activity.
I'm completely with you. I just think, and really, sort of where I'm going with this, when you look at these numbers, this is the kind of the end of the previous administration and the beginning of the current administration, right? And with all the things that have been happening inside of Doge, I cannot imagine that we would be seeing job growth in education, health, and government in the next period. So when we get to March, that those numbers will not be present. And I mean, with the number of things that are sort of just being initiated now, I'm not sure that you're going to see some fantastic numbers in construction and manufacturing, leisure and hospitality, business services, or any of the other numbers. I think that I just have this. I wanted to ask you this, and it's probably a loaded question, but I don't mean it for it to be super loaded.
I know, man.
What do you think the next job report looks like? I think it's going to be pretty bad.
I wouldn't say pretty bad. I think we've had on this podcast, we've had plenty of episodes where we looked and laughed at the commentary.
Yeah,
people
sure.
Who have downplayed the resilience of the U.S. economy,
right,
and the U.S. consumer, and so I'm not going to go down that path. However, there are signs that perhaps we're not going to continue to see the type of strong jobs report that we saw in the past few years. But I think that was expected. Things are supposed to cool down.
Sure. Yeah.
And as of now, the current jobs report is likely not going to change the Fed narrative. They're probably going to pause, wait for more data and see what happens next. But yes, I think we got more cooling coming, especially in the second half of this year. That was my forecast at the end of last year, that the first few jobs report might appear a little bit stronger than they really are under the surface, and that potentially we're going to see a bit of a cool down in the second half of this year.
Well, I appreciate your thoughts as always. For Orphe Divounguy, this has been Chris Krug. Subscribe to Everyday Economics wherever you get your podcasts and listen to us each week on the Center Square Radio Hour.